Get ready for That Football Show with those fantasy guys.
Hello and welcome to week number 4 of That Football Show with those fantasy guys.
And we are your fantasy guys.
We certainly are, Jay. We had another stellar week in week number 3.
Ding, 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 ding.
And we are going to follow it up with a hardcore, solid performance in week number 4. Jay, hashtag trending, take it away.
You know what's trending?
What's
People are panicking.
I'm panicking.
People are panicking all over the place. 0-3, what do? I need to make a trade. I'm going to make you this ridiculous trade offer. I'm going to make you this ridiculous trade offer. I'm going to sell my team. Fire sale. It's only week 3. It's just been completed. If you bear with us moving forward, we will be able to guide you to victory. We will be able to get that final playoff spot for you. And what happens with that final playoff spot?
Anything can happen.
Anything can happen. Just ask Kevin Garnett. He watches the show.
Does he really? Moving right along, let's get into the key injuries this week. A long list, just like last week. We're not going to read them all, but we'll give you some kind of an idea. If we could throw that graphic up. There it is. Bunch of quarterbacks still on the list from last week. Bunch of running backs still on the list. We got rid of the IR guys because they're not coming back this year. And some new additions, though. Shane Vereen, Des Bryant, and Jarvis Landry. Jay, who's jumping off at you there?
Well, the one that's jumping off is Rashard Jennings because that Orleans Darkwa, you may or may not have heard of him.
Mentioned once or twice on this program before.
He is a potential guy to keep an eye on, somebody that might do something. They got a tough matchup this week, but somebody you might want to keep an eye on. Jeremy Langford is going to cause some openings for people to look at other players. I mean, those are the two guys that really jump off the screen because, especially with the Giants, their top 2 running backs are gone.
Yeah.
So people that are on nobody's roster are there for the picking for starting running back.
Orleans Darkwa, you would think would be somebody who would be on the show this week and normally would be, but a terrible matchup against a great Vikings defense.
Yep.
Let's move on. This is the first week of bye weeks in the NFL, so that means this is the first week of Hunt for Red October.
Finding the ultimate sub.
Fantastic, Jay. Let's take a look at who's on a bye this week and what fantasy players that affects. We have a graphic because this is TFS and we want you to be entertained. The teams that are on a bye this week are short and sweet. The Green Bay Packers and the Philadelphia Eagles. Jay, who does that affect?
I mean, Aaron Rodgers, obviously, going into last week, people were saying, is Aaron Rodgers done? Is this the end? He's on a 14-week run.
Sell high.
I mean, and then last week, what happens? He just blows up.
Sell high.
And then he has a bye week. It's hard to sell him on a bye week. I mean, I'm sure people are trying.
They are.
But it's not going to be easy to sell him on a bye week. But Aaron Rodgers, Jordy Nelson, Eddie Lacy, Ryan Matthews with a mysterious injury, and Jordan Matthews, the Matthew brothers,
The
all
Matthews.
on byes.
The unrelated Matthews on a bye in Philadelphia. Jay, start us off in a big way with the Hunt for Red October. Who is your ultimate sub this week?
Well, I'm going to tell you exactly what's going on. Your email box is getting blown up. Whatever league you're on, there's going to be articles about, hey, these are the 10 guys you have to get for this week. These are the 10 must-adds. No matter where you go, what website, you go to NFL, you go to CBS, you go to Yahoo, you go to Fox, it's going to be the same 10 guys on every list, just in a different order. That's why you come here. We have different players that you might not have heard of to let you know about. And I'm talking about Brashard Perryman,
who?
Wide receiver, Baltimore Ravens. Who exactly? If you want to know a little something different, this guy is 6'2", with
like
4.24 40 speed.
So you're saying he's big and fast.
He's big, he's fast, and he's Madden approved. Let me tell you what. I've killed people with this guy on Madden. And he's going against the awful Raiders secondary. They have the worst secondary in the league. This guy is...
They've allowed the most yards in the NFL.
This guy is primed for a breakout People are looking at the other receivers. This guy's going to slip into the slot. I almost guarantee a play of over 35 yards and a touchdown. And by a play of over 30, I mean one play over 35 yards and a touchdown. He's probably going to have 4 catches on 7 targets, 70 yards, and a touchdown.
The Oakland Raiders have allowed 7 passing touchdowns through 3 weeks of football. That is atrocious.
That is and this guy is a guy you're not getting in your email box from NFL about. You got to find him. You're hearing it right here at TFS.
That's right. Well, all those lists are guys that we were talking about last week.
Right.
That's how it works here on TFS. If you're just joining us for the first time, you found yourself a fantasy football jewel. Make sure not to tell anybody about it.
What?
Now, well, you don't want anybody else stealing these fantastic ideas. I know we want viewers, but we will get them.
Did you just
osmosis.
tell our viewers not to tell
Absolutely.
anybody about our show?
This is
I don't think you understand how this works.
Well, this is the love of fantasy football here.
All right.
I don't care how many people watch it.
Tell your friends.
I don't care how many people watch it. I want our viewers to benefit and to be faithful viewers.
Tell your friends.
Jay just wants the stats.
Share it.
Jay wants the stats. I've got 3 guys this week, Jay. Every week I look at the I look at the free agency panel in my league, and all I see is guys I want to add.
You know what
guys
that is?
I want to have on my
Opportunity.
team. I just see guys I want on my team. The problem is you got guys that you just can't cut. At least at this point in the season. But let's start off with 2 quarterbacks. If we're talking about filling in for Aaron Rodgers, here's 2 that nobody's talking about. Number 1 is Sam Bradford. Sam Bradford is owned in 27% of leagues. He has to pass. They can't run because they've got no O-line in Minnesota. They've proven that. They couldn't run the ball with Adrian Peterson. They're not going to run it with Jerick McKinnon. Now, they're playing the New York Giants. So just the fact that they're playing the Giants, who throw the ball all game long, they're going to have to throw just to keep up and stay in the game. And oh yeah, Sam Bradford, no picks on the season so far. He's playing efficient, correct football for the first time in his career and is worth an ad and a start on your team this week. Now, I've got another one for you. Every year, I take Alex Smith on this segment once a year. This is the week. Alex Smith has has the same amount of passing attempts as Ben Roethlisberger and Matt Stafford. He has more passing attempts than Carson Palmer, Cam Newton, Eli Manning, and Matt Ryan. The Pittsburgh defense, who he happens to be playing this week, is awful. They can't cover. They can't get pressure on the quarterback, and they can't tackle. That all leads up to a great day for Smith. I'm looking for Alex Smith. Now, the Pittsburgh defense doesn't give up a lot of passing touchdowns because when the teams get down there, they just run the ball in on them because, as I mentioned, they can't tackle. But I'm looking for Smith to have 300 yards and 2 touchdowns this weekend against Pittsburgh, and they're going to show Pittsburgh what a real NFL team looks like.
I got question. You say that every year you pick Alex Smith for one of your...
In this segment, once a year.
Okay. What is the ratio of successful picks with
Every
Alex Smith?
time.
Every time?
Every
Okay,
time. The
all right.
last time I picked Alex Smith, he had 3 touchdowns.
All right, I just wanted to make sure.
If you need a quarterback, add them in this order. Alex Smith, Sam Bradford. Enjoy your Sunday.
I got another one that I was just thinking of while you're talking about this. Trevor Siemian might be a nice start this week against
Trevor
the Bucks
Siemian
too.
could be a nice fit. Now I've got one running back for you. Terrence West, owned in 47% of leagues. He is in a true timeshare with Justin Forsett. West is the younger, more talented option at the moment for the Baltimore Ravens. The Oakland defense have allowed a league's 4th worst yards per game at 138. If you divide that in by 2 and you throw on a touchdown, you're going to get West's production this week. If you need a running back, you can go out and add West, throw him in your starting lineup. That does it for
Hunt for Red October, finding the ultimate sub.
And what do we do after that? We move on to Tough Sits.
Sit down, Waldo.
All right, last week, I don't even need to tell you what happened last week. I'm just going to let the stats do my talking for a change. I told you last week to sit your boyfriend, Stefon Diggs. He had 4 catches for 40 yards. I told you he wasn't going to do anything. He didn't do anything. I mean, if you're looking for 4 points to get you that win, There was a lot of other wide receivers that you could have played. But that being said, I'm not going to stroke my ego too much. But if you have him, sit him last week, good. Play him this week because he's a WR1 this week.
I have one thing to say. Can you hear me now? Let the ego stroking begin, because last week I told you to sit down Ben Roethlisberger in what was going to be a fist fight in Philly. And guess what? It was a fist fight, and Philly came out on the wrong side of it. I know how many of you were sitting out there last week going, listen to this fat bald guy telling me to sit down Ben Roethlisberger against the Philadelphia Eagles. Can you hear me now? Sit down, Ben Roethlisberger. He was 24 of 44 for 257 yards, no touchdowns, and an interception. The Philly D is the #1 defense in the NFL. We said it last week before every sports show in the country was talking about it. They have yet to allow a passing touchdown. And guess what? If you're a Ben Roethlisberger owner, this week doesn't get much better, because Kansas City's defense is no joke. He's not going to have as bad a day because Le'Veon Bell is coming back. He's going to take a lot of pressure off, but it's not going to look like the Ben Roethlisberger from the first 2 weeks. The mail is in on the Pittsburgh Steelers. They know how to stop them. They're going to do it again this week.
What does that even mean? The mail is in.
I'm just making, listen, I've got so much creative room right now after sitting down Ben Roethlisberger next week. I can say whatever I want. Let's move on
to this week.
Just
to keep you on track.
Thank you very
with your
much.
mail.
Hey, listen, I'm all excited, okay?
Yes,
The ego
so.
is being stroked at the
Hey,
moment.
we mentioned Stephon Diggs, and you're a good sit with Ben Roethlisberger. You're all fired up. All right, this week I'm going with I'm going to go with the Daily Double because we're on fire with this segment. I'm going with a Daily Double. I originally came in with just Jameis Winston, but I'm saying sit them both. Jameis Winston and Mike Evans. Both of them right now as we speak, top 5 in their respective positions in fantasy football. But I am telling you, Mike Evans and Jameis Winston are going against the Denver Broncos D. And I remember there's times years ago where we used to just scour to see who was playing the Seattle Seahawks a couple years ago so we could pick our tough sits. Last year I did it a little bit with the Cardinals. The Broncos is a tough sit this year. If you're playing the Broncos as the Bucs are this week, you sit these guys and find better options. You know who's a better option? Trevor Siemian.
There you go. I like it. Jay, this week I'm going to talk about a guy that we've been talking about for over a year. Last year, this year, that's multiple years. That's over a year. I'm talking about Christine Michael, or Christine Michael, because that's his name. Listen, I just say it the way it's written, right? Christine Michael.
Look at him go.
We've been telling you about this guy since last season, since before he got cut, before he got brought back, before you drafted your fantasy football team, and before he snatched the starting job in week number 3 and will never give it back. He went off for 20 carries, 106 yards, and 2 touchdowns. It's well known that we have much love for Christine Michael here on TFS, but let's tap the brakes on the hype train for just a moment and take a look at why he had such a good week.
I can't wait to hear.
Number 1, the Seattle Seahawks were playing a very bad 49ers team. Now, they were winning the Seattle Seahawks for most of the game, which is why Christine Michael ended up with 20 carries in the first place. This week, Christine Michael and the Seattle Seahawks, a West Coast team, traveled to New York City to play a 1 p.m. game.
Ding, 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 TFS alert.
For the New York Jets, who got embarrassed last week by the aforementioned Kansas City Chiefs. Historically, West Coast teams don't play well when they travel to the East Coast for a 1 o'clock game. They will be playing with either an injured starting quarterback or an inexperienced starting quarterback, which means they're going to what?
Run the ball.
Who else knows that? The Jets.
The Jets.
Now, the Jets have the number 2 rushing defense in the NFL. They have allowed just 71 yards per game over 3 games. And how many touchdowns? You don't know, but I'm going to tell you, 1 touchdown over 3 games. Sit down, Christine Michael. Sit him down. In a game that I have the Jets winning, too, by the way.
All right, I'm going to vehemently oppose that.
I know.
I'm going to oppose that. Number one, some of your stats are a little misleading. He had 106 yards because they were winning. Well, they were winning because he had 2 touchdowns in the first quarter.
Hold on, don't misquote me.
You said
I said he had 20 rushing attempts because he was winning. Did he have 20 rushing attempts in the first quarter?
And the reason
Did he have 20 rushing attempts in the first quarter?
The reason why they were winning.
You continue vehemently
The
opposing.
reason why they were winning is because of the 2 touchdowns he had in the first quarter.
Careful. Research right here, all over it.
Right. That's why I had to correct some of your research right before we went live.
That's right.
All right.
So now let's move on to Wall Street, buy low, sell high. One of my favorite segments on the show because we talk about players who you've never heard of, who all of a sudden, a week later, 2 weeks later, boom, they're on everybody's radar. We're going to give you a couple right here out of the box.
That's
there
right.
you go.
I'm going to say check your email because you're going to hear about these guys in your emails 2 weeks from now.
That's right.
I'm going buy low. It seems like this year we've done a lot of buy lows, so I'm going to challenge myself next week for a sell high. But right now,
I'll accept that challenge too.
I'm going to go with a buy low on Kenneth Dixon. We already mentioned the Ravens running back situation earlier in the show. But I'm telling you that Kenneth Dixon, if you're looking for a cheap starting running back that's going to be starting when we need him in week 14, 15, 16, when the fantasy football playoffs are around, you can get this guy for free on a team that in the NFL is going to be battling for playoff spots or playoff positions. So they're going to be putting their best players in the positions to win. And the best running back on the Ravens that's going to be week 14, 15, 16 is Kenneth Dixon.
10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5.
While everybody is racing to sign Jordan Howard or Dwayne Washington, you can get this guy for free because you're not going to be able to get Howard and Washington for free this week. You're going to have to pay. You're going to have to overpay. Or you can get this guy for nothing, and you will get better results from this guy when you need him down the road. What do you want, a guy in the Bears? They're going to be 0-14 week 14. You know what I'm saying? Who needs a running back on an 0-14 team? You don't. You need a running back on a team that's battling for playoff spots.
It's Todd Gurley, then I'll take him. Now, I love this pick. I love Kenneth Dixon. I think he's a great pickup this week. He's just starting to resume practice, but I hear he's not doing much. He's just kind of practicing by himself. Looking for week 5, week 6 to get back into the fold. But from the second this guy hits the field, he's the starter. Because there's been very little to no production from the other 2 guys on that team.
Oh, they're trying to give the starting job away.
I hear you. My buy low this week is Hunter Henry. Tight end, San Diego Chargers, rookie. Henry has 6 catches for 96 yards, filling in for the injured Antonio Gates. This week, San Diego plays New Orleans. We already talked about New Orleans' defense. They're horrible, but they're not as bad as you think. They are giving up 300 yards passing per game, but they've allowed fewer passing yards than Indy, Pittsburgh, Green Bay, and San Diego. Now that last one should set off an alarm in your head because San Diego and New Orleans, 2 guys that don't want to play defense, are playing each other. This is going to be a high-scoring affair. There could be 70 combined points by the time this is all over in the 4th quarter. And Hunter Henry is certainly got a rapport with Phillip Rivers early in his career. And I think Rivers looks for him early and often. The fact that he almost broke the century mark last week is a great indication. He had, I don't even know how many targets, more than 6, because he had 6 catches. Phillip Rivers is looking for him. Phillip Rivers needs weapons. And as I have mentioned before, I believe Phillip Rivers is a Hall of Fame quarterback. And I know you think that's funny.
It is.
We can debate that at another time.
Today, that's funny.
Today, that's funny. I think he's on his way. He's had a fantastic career. And I don't know if you noticed, but they throw the ball a little bit in San Diego.
They do, and it's going to be like a 7-on-7 drill out there.
You got it.
Just hope he holds on to the ball.
Right. So if you need tight end help, maybe not,
if you've been waiting for Gronk to come back and you're looking for someone.
You need a little supplement.
Yep.
Hunter Henry's a great way to go, and you can get him very, very cheap because he had a fumble and not a touchdown last week. If he had that touchdown, different story, but you can still get Hunter Henry cheap. Let me have it, Jay.
No, I got nothing.
You got nothing.
I was going to make a
Fantastic.
supplement joke, but
Supplement joke. No supplement jokes. Let's move on to the Facebook question. If you have Facebook and you like the show, you can email us your Facebook questions, and we will read them on the show. Search That Football Show. We're not the only one, so look for the shield and like us, share us, send us out, do whatever you do. The question is, historically, the London game has been kind of a mess. can I count on Andrew Luck this week?
If we say that the West Coast to East Coast 1 o'clock game is a difficult game, what is the Midwest to the homeland Britain game for 9:30 in the morning? No wonder these games are historically a mess. But I'm telling you what.
Tell me what.
If there is something that's going to fix your fantasy football quarterback, one of those prescriptions might just be the Jacksonville Jaguars defense.
Is that right?
So I think you roll with Luck one more week. I've told people not to panic. We always do a quarter poll show. The quarter poll is coming up after next week. It's not before next week. So you drafted Luck. You drafted Luck as your #1 quarterback. He's going against the Jacksonville Jaguars, and this is the evaluation. This game. If he plays well this game, then you can feel confident moving forward. If he doesn't play well this game, that's when you evaluate Luck in your team to see what moves you want to make. So roll with Luck with confidence this week. We'll make the evaluation at the quarter poll next week.
Yeah, and I think we've talked about in the past how the London game teams typically choose to run the ball because it's a short week, because it's early in the morning, because they're in a bad environment, because usually it's raining in London for some reason. But let's face it, Frank Gore is not getting any younger between now and Sunday morning at 9 a.m. They're only going to be able to run the ball so much. They're going to have to lean on Luck. He is the offense.
He's all the offense. And hopefully that play at the end of the game with T.Y. Hilton is going to bring some chemistry back. They got Philip Dorsett on the other side that needs to get involved. I mean, they pass the ball 85% of the time, so all we ever talk about on this show is opportunity. If you have Andrew Luck, it's nothing but opportunity because they're always passing the ball. So I would definitely roll with them one more week and see what happens.
Yeah, and a darn good quarterback at that. Let's move on to weekly leagues and wrap up this Week 4 edition of That Football Show with those fantasy guys. Jay, weekly leagues, tell us about fantasy football for quitters and who you're starting this week.
Well, this week I'm a little nervous about it because your deep research and analytics told me that the Saints' defense is not as bad as I think.
Not as bad as you think. Yet, still allowing 300 yards per game.
But I think the home and the way is going to be the barometer for the Saints' defense.
Yeah.
They're away in San Diego. I think you can get Phillip Rivers at a decent price. They're going to pass the ball a lot. Someone else to consider, Melvin Gordon. I'm not sure if maybe you should start Melvin Gordon if you have him in a regular
I've heard that on other fantasy football shows that you should start Melvin Gordon.
So I would go with Rivers is my pick, but if you got Melvin Gordon, you go with Melvin Gordon too. You're going to be able to build your team around destroying the Saints defense.
I love it, and I will employ that strategy this week. That is all the time we have for That Football Show with those fantasy guys.
We are still those fantasy guys.
We are. We're destroying it. We'll see you next week, everybody. Good luck.